and welcome back to this episode of the Day Trading Bootcamp. In this episode, we are going to discuss breaker blocks. So a breaker is super simple. All it is a low, a high, a lower low, and then a higher high. And the breaker block is the last leg up before the move down that swept out this liquidity. That's our breaker. Price will close through it, tap back into it, and use it to push higher. And then obviously it's the same way in a bearish example. We'll put in a high, a low, higher high, lower low. I also like to look for a market structure shift on this low, market structure shift, tap back in, price holds it, and we push lower. And then the most probable breaker blocks we want to be looking at is breaker blocks that have swept liquidity. We came into a higher time frame PD array. We formed the breaker, and we also have a draw on liquidity that we want to be targeting to the side the breaker gets formed in. So this example, we form a bearish breaker that swept liquidity, came into a higher time frame PD array like a order block for value gap, and we pushed down and we had a draw on liquidity to go lower. So those are the most probable breaker blocks we want to be looking for. So my favorite way to use the breaker is to use it on a reversal of a trend. So we're downtrending, we then put in a breaker, and we reverse to go higher. But you can also use it as an entry and to give you a higher time frame bias. So on this example, you can see all the liquidity to the downside. You see all these lows, equal lows, failure swings to the downside. We came up, we swept out this liquidity right at 9:30. Swept that liquidity. We put in a high, a low, higher high, and then a lower low down here. And we got closure through this leg, this down leg, before the leg up that swept the liquidity. That's the breaker block. Price retraced, tapped back into here, and from there we swept out all this liquidity, and also it looks like right here we could also have a breaker. Let me zoom in. So zooming in on that 5-minute breaker, from this 5-minute breaker on the retest to the breaker, we also form a breaker right here. So high, low, higher high. Where's our breaker block? The last leg before price swept liquidity. We get closure through. Unfortunately, we don't test all the way into the breaker, but this would be a possible entry for me on this position right here. This looks nice. And yeah, and even continuing down that leg, price comes down, we get a little retrace back up, and what do we form at the top? High, low, higher high, lower low down here. Boom. The last leg down before the leg up. So all these candles are the breaker block. We come down, push down further, test it back up into the breaker, and from there we hold and go lower. And I mean, even here you can see the breaker. We have right here a low, high, lower low, higher high. We get closure through. Last two candles up before the leg down. This is a breaker. We get a closure through. We don't tap into it, but we go up from there. So even here in choppy price action, we could still recognize a breaker. High, low, higher high, lower low with closure through. The last leg, I really count as the lowest leg up before the sweep. So this is my breaker block. We get good closure through it. We tap into it here, push off of it. And then at market open, 9:30, we come back up, test the breaker again, and we push way off of it. And doesn't look like we get a breaker there, but I mean, even looking here, what is right here? This is a breaker. And price holds it once. We push down lower. Probably would find an entry in there on this fair value gap as well. Come up, tap it again, push off of it again. And then on that first retrace right after 9:30, the tap into this breaker, what do we form right here? Boom. Breaker block right here. Do we tap into it? Looks like we get closure through on this candle, tap in once, start to push down, tap in again, push down, tap, push off of it, and we go down. This is the lowest we go, but I mean, even looking here on this push to the breaker, they form everywhere. This is why I absolutely love the breaker. It's probably my favorite ICT concept because it just forms everywhere, especially on the 1 minute time frame. The 5 minute time frame, you can find a 5 minute breaker and zoom into the 1 minute time frame and look for a breaker to form there. Super clean, very powerful. Absolutely love the breaker. Please look for it in the charts for yourself. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out.